So very good evening to all my dear friends, and today I'm going to start with diuretics. You all know that we have already completed the entire ANS system, and now we are moving on towards the renal. Why I chose renal? Because after completing the entire autonomic nervous system, now we are going to start with the renal, because renal is one of the very easiest topic. So it's a very short one, but at the same time there can be questions from it which you have to understand. So that is the reason why I'm starting with diuretics. Before moving into the topic, okay, so only on motto, everyone just remember. So life is very, very difficult, whatever be the situation. Today you might have a failure in your any subject per se. You may not able to study due to some personal reasons or other things. But always remember, the path ahead is very big. Okay, never let us stumble in the road to be end of your journey. This is one of my favorite why? Because never end your life at any point of time. This life is not a dead end. Okay, try to move on in your life, try to explore new things whichever interests you. Okay, so it's better to move a life rather than ending it. Okay, so we can see lots and lots of mind disturbing suicides in our community. There are lots of medical students who are getting into a depression, who are trying to or attempting to suicide. We are hearing lots and lots of similar episodes in the past few days or past few months. So that is why I thought of telling you this, and adding to this, let's move on towards today's topic, that is going to be your diuretic. Okay, so what is a diuretic? I already told you, diuretic is an agent that increases the urine and solute excretion in our body. Okay, so what is a diuretic? Agents or drugs that are going to promote the excretion of urine. So you know that a nephron is a functional unit of a kidney. So one kidney contains 1 million nephron, that is sufficient for a person to get a good adequate amount of urine filtered. So what is the function of a kidney? It is going to be very important in maintaining the H2O balance, that is a water balance. They are going to maintain the proper osmolarity of a body fluid. They regulate the quantity and concentration of ECF ions and maintain proper plasma volume. They help in maintaining the acid-base balance. They are helpful in excreting the foreign compounds. They are very importantly, they produce erythropoietin and renin. They convert vitamin D into its active form. So this is a nephron. A nephron consists of a glomerular apparatus. It's a capillary, stuffed of capillaries. From there, you have this Bowman's membrane. Between them, you have this filtering membrane. And below, you're going to have the proximal convoluted tubule. Then you have the descending loop of Henle, ascending loop of Henle, distal convoluted tubule, and a collecting duct. So each nephron has two components, vascular compartment and your tubular component. Glomerular filtration is going to be occurring like this. So when the blood enters your glomerular capillary about 70 millimeter, these capillaries are going to restrict only very large molecule. Thus, it results in filtration of your blood plasma minus your large molecules. So like your filtrate will be including your water, ions, urea, glucose, sodium, potassium, everything is going to get. And remember, 99% of the filtrate that are going to be filtered in the glomerular capillary are going to get reabsorbed. So on the reabsorption pair, the tubular reabsorption. So you have this proximal convoluted tubule, descending loop of Henle, ascending loop of Henle, distal tubule, and a collecting duct. Proximal convoluted tubule, one of the most important things is you have this bicarbonate, sodium bicarbonate. Then you're going to have this very important, that is going to be your sodium. Okay, sodium chloride channel இருக்கும். அப்புறம் வந்து descending limb or loop of Henle வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா water அதுதான் வந்து மெயினா going to get reabsorbed. ஸோ அப்போ வாட்டர் ரீஅப்சார்ப் ஆச்சுன்னா அந்த இடத்துல என்ன ஆகும்னா கான்சென்ட்ரேட் ஆகும். அதனால தான் descending loop of Henle is otherwise called as a concentrating loop. Then what happens? Then there is going to be a ascending. Ascending sodium chloride gets reabsorbed. In the sodium chloride reabsorb water gets diluted. That's why you call it as a diluting loop of Henle. Then what happens in your distal convoluted tubule? You are going to have very important sodium potassium 2 chloride channel. Sodium potassium 2 chloride channel enna pannu? So that is going to increase your sodium chloride absorption. Then what happens? You're going to have this very important, that is going to be your NaCl again in your distal tubule. Collecting that aldosterone effects. So proximal convoluted tubule, as I told you, 70% of your filtered sodium gets reabsorbed transcellularly. So glucose, amino acid, bicarbonate, adellame reabsorb agudhu. Descending loop of Henle it's highly permeable to water. So water is readily reabsorbed by osmosis. So concentration of the tubular fluid is going to increase dramatically in the descending limb. Osmolarity can reach up to 1200 by the end of descending limb. Okay, then comes the indadam paranga. So inga 600 irukku, apra 1200, apra 400 agudhu. So adha concentrating, then there is a dilution. The ascending limb of loop of Henle, I already told you, they are impermeable to water, but they are going to be reabsorbed the sodium. Therefore, there is going to be a dilution. Okay, next, early part of your distal convoluted tubule, the remaining filtered load of your sodium chloride is going to get reabsorbed. Here, potassium does not recycle. Calcium absorption is a PTH hormone dependent. Now coming to the late DCT and collecting duct, you have this ADH hormone. ADH hormone if present, okay, ADH is antidiuretic hormone. So antidiuretic hormone present water permeable, water reabsorb. ADH illana, water is going to be impermeable. So you have this principal cells, intercalated cells. So principal cells, they absorb sodium and lose potassium. Intercalated cells, they excrete hydrogen, forms bicarbonate, causes alkalosis, and your absorption of potassium occurs. Now coming to the principal cells. So sodium resorption and potassium excretion is going to depend on the sodium potassium ATPase pump, which is present on the basement limiting membrane. So 2 to 5% of your sodium chloride reabsorbed via your sodium channel in your luminal membrane. Both the absorption are going to be regulated by aldosterone. So major site of potassium excretion is going to be your principal cells. Then what happens? You're going to have this intercalated cells where you're going to have the potassium resorption and hydrogen ion secretion into the lumen. Hydrogen ion secretion in the cell is by action of your carbonic anhydrase enzyme. So carbonic anhydrase water plus CO2 H2CO3 H2CO3 H plus and CO3 minus convert பண்றது the carbonic anhydrase enzyme. Okay, now medullary collecting duct, this is a final site for processing of your urine. It is going to play a very, very important role in determining the final urine output of your urea, water and your solute. This place, urea is also permeable. So water permeability is controlled by ADH. So brief on the nephron entire concept in the paragraph in the picture. So you can take a screenshot if required. Okay, I'll also take along with you. Just take the screenshot of this particular page. Is it clear? Okay. Next, we are going to move towards this one. So I already told you the functions of the your nephron, where what happens, I already told you. In proximal convoluted tubule, there are two important things that are happening. One is your sodium bicarbonate and second is a NaCl. So NaCl absorption, okay, NaCl absorption, that usually on the thiazide group of diuretics preventing. அதே மாதிரியே NaHCO3 அந்த கார்பானிக் ஆனைட்ரேஸ் என்சைமோட ஆக்ஷனை ப்ரிவென்ட் பண்றது தான் கார்பானிக் ஆனைட்ரேஸ் என்சைம் இனிபிட்டர்ஸ். எக்ஸாம்பிள் இஸ் கோயிங் டு பி அசிட்டோசோலமைட். ஓகே, 1ன்னு போட்டிருக்கிற இடம் இருக்கு பார்த்தீங்களா அங்க. அதே மாதிரியே லூப் டையூரிட்டிக்ஸ்ல என்ன ஆகுது? லூப் டையூரிட்டிக்ஸ் அப்படின்னா என்ன? ஸோ லூப் டையூரிட்டிக்ஸ்னா they are going to major action on the sodium potassium 2 chloride channel. அப்ப அது எங்க இருக்கு? இந்த திக் அசெண்டிங் லிம்ப் ஆஃப் லூப் ஆஃப் ஹென்லி இல்லைன்னா distal convoluted tubule. So அங்க ஆக்ட் பண்றதுக்கு பேர் தான் லூப் டையூரிட்டிக்ஸ் ஆர் ஃபியூரசமைட். சிமிலர்லி வாட்டர் அப்சார்ப்ஷன்ஸை மட்டும் என்ன பண்றோம்னா, இந்த வாட்டர் எக்ஸ்கிரீட் ஆகுதுல்ல, அதை மட்டும் ப்ரிவென்ட் பண்றதுக்கு வாட்டர் அப்சார்ப் பண்ணணும். ஸோ அந்த வாட்டர் அப்சார்ப் பண்றதுக்கு பேர் என்னன்னா ஆஸ்மாட்டிக் டையூரிட்டிக்ஸ், தட் இஸ் யோர் மேனிடால். Okay, and finally what happens, you're going to have the aldosterone antagonist. Aldosterone antagonist or ADH antagonist, they're going to have action upon the collecting tubule, so collecting duct. Is it clear? Okay, So now coming to this, I'll tell you one by one. Carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. So they are the site 1, that is acetozolamide. Site 2 and the eye-sealing diuretics, that is going to be a furosemide, bumetamide and your torsemide. இதெல்லாம் sulfonyl derivative, phenoxyastic acid derivative and ethacrynic acid. And medium efficacy அது site 3, that is your sodium chloride. அங்க benzathiazide, chlorothiazide, chloroflumetazide, hydrochlorothiazide, clopamide and your benzthiazide. And thiazide மாதிரி இருக்காது, thiazide like derivative சொல்றோம். Example is your chlorthalidone and metallazone, zipamide and your indapamide. Potassium sparing diuretics. இங்க என்ன ஆகுதுன்னா potassium spare பண்ணுது. I will tell you the reason why in the subsequent sessions. So potassium sparing diuretics example, aldosterone antagonist, spironolactone, eplerenone, and directly acting is going to be triamterene and amiloride. And you're going to have the osmotic diuretic example is your mannitol, isosorbide and glycerol. You have the newer drugs, vasopressin antagonist, that is your conivaptans, Vaptan group of drugs in solvu, and adenosine A1 receptor antagonist, that is your rolophilin. Okay, now coming back. So first one we are going to see is loop diuretics. So loop diuretics வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா furosemide, it's a sulfonamide derivative. It is a most powerful loop diuretic. It is powerful diuretic also. So அது எங்க ஆக்ட் பண்ணுது? I already told you, sodium potassium 2 chloride channel ஆக்ட் பண்றது தான் loop diuretics. So how does it act? I'll tell you. So you have the sodium potassium 2 chloride. So அது என்ன பண்ணும்? sodium potassium 2 chloride மூணுத்தையும் அப்சார்ப் பண்ணிக்கும். அப்ப என்ன ஆகும்? அந்த அப்சார்ப்ஷனை நம்ம என்ன பண்றோம்னா we are going to inhibit. அப்ப sodium potassium 2 chloride is not absorbed. Whenever sodium potassium 2 chloride is not absorbed, okay, so what happens? It is going to greatly increase the excretion of sodium and chloride in the urine. So sodium chloride urine la increase agudne vechukom. What it is going to cause? I'll tell you. So whenever there is going to be a okay, so loop diuretics enna pannadhu? Example your furosemide. So whenever your furosemide is going to act, this is going to cause increase in the sodium secretion. ஆனா என்ன ஆகுது? இந்த sodium வந்து it is going to get exchanged for potassium. Yenga, I'll tell you. So what happens? This sodium is going to get exchanged for potassium in the opposite side. அப்ப என்ன ஆகும்? சோடியம் நிறைய வெளில போய் பொட்டாசியம் எல்லாம் செல்லுக்குள்ள வந்துடும். ஸோ இந்த மாதிரி செல்லுக்குள்ள உங்களுக்கு பொட்டாசியம் வரும். ஓகேவா? ஸோ அண்ட் இன்னொரு ஒன்று என்னன்னா, இது வெளில போற சோடியம் குளோரைடு இருக்கு பார்த்தீங்களா? அந்த சோடியம் குளோரைடு வந்து அப்சர்வ் ஆகாதீங்க. இங்க என்ன ஆகுது? சோடியம் குளோரைடு அப்சர்வ் ஆகல, சோடியம் குளோரைடு எக்ஸ்கிரீட் ஆகுது. அப்ப சோடியம் வெளில போறதுக்கான இருக்குமா? இருக்காது. அப்ப பொட்டாசியம் உள்ள வருமா? வராது. அப்ப பொட்டாசியம் உள்ள வராது, சோடியம் வெளில போக முடியாது. ஓகேவா? இப்ப சோடியம் குளோரைடு கீழே இறங்கி வருது. இப்ப இந்த சோடியம் குளோரைடு கீழே இறங்கி வர்றப்ப என்ன ஆகும்னா, இந்த சோடியம் குளோரைடு will be getting absorbed. இந்த sodium chloride will be getting absorbed in this segment. ஓகேவா? So loop diuretics are highly efficacious. Okay, so என்ன பண்ணுது loop diuretics? Okay, so one, it is going to cause increased sodium exchange for potassium. அதனால என்ன ஆகும்? அடுத்த ஸ்டேஜ் வரும்போது, okay, அடுத்த ஸ்டேஜ் வரும்போது what happens? There is an increased excretion of your potassium that is causing hypokalemia. Okay, similarly, they are going to increase the calcium excretion. Therefore, they can cause mild hypocalcemia. Similarly, sodium potassium 2 chloride importer block பண்றதுனால it increases the excretion of your sodium and your chloride. Magnesium loss increase ஆகுது. ஐவியா நீங்க கொடுக்கறப்ப வீனோ டைலேஷன் ஏற்பட்டு left ventricular filling கம்மியாகி it relieves your pulmonary edema. கார்பானிக் ஆனைட்ரேஸ் என்சைமி இன்ஹிபிட் பண்ணும், அதனால பாஸ்பேட் லாஸ் இன்க்ரீஸ்டா இருக்கும். ஸோ இதுதான் ஆக்ஷன். ஓகேவா? இதுதான் ஆக்ஷன். தே ஆர் கோயிங் டு பி வீக் கார்பானிக் ஆனைட்ரேஸ் இன்ஹிபிட்டர். கால்சியம் மெக்னீசியம் இஸ் கோயிங் டு பி எக்ஸ்கிரீட்டட். இன்க்ரீஸ் இன் பிளட் யூரிக் ஆசிட் லெவல். இன்க்ரீஸ் ப்ரோஸ்டாக்லாண்டின் சிந்தசிஸ். Dosage is 20 to 80 mg once daily. Route வந்து oral, IM and IV. What is going to be the use? Remember, you are going to edema patients, loop diuretics are highly efficacious. Okay, then you are going to have this acute renal failure patient, cerebral edema, any acute pulmonary edema, or whenever there is going to be any poisoning. forced diuresis கொடுக்க வேண்டிய இடத்துல we will be giving. Okay, IV furosemide, what it does in pulmonary edema. So PG mediated immediate vasodilatation can occur, increase in the blood in veins, decrease in venous return to what? Decrease in left ventricular filling, and it's going to relieve your pulmonary edema. Or otherwise, it is going to cause diuresis, decrease in plasma volume, and finally it causes relieving your pulmonary edema. So what is going to be the uses? Hyperkalemia, it increases potassium excretion, so hypokalemia varum. So adverse effect na hypokalemia. Hyperkalemia you can give cerebral edema, acute pulmonary edema, etc. What are the adverse effects? Okay, I'll tell you. Adverse effect என்னன்னா hypokalemia வரும். Why there is hypokalemia? Because your loop diuretic inhibits the resorption of your sodium in the loop of Henle. So it is going in the collecting duct. What happened? Potassium hydrogen ion is largely excreted. It's going to be secreted in exchange for the sodium, leading to hypokalemia and metabolic alkalosis. Hypokalemia is a dose dependent and can be quite troublesome. So what is going to be the symptoms? So symptoms will be patient dietary intake will be reduced, irritability, drowsiness, confusion, muscle weakness can be there. What is the amount of you're going to give? So hypokalemia can be prevented and corrected with high dietary intake of potassium. Oral KCl supplementation has to be given. And next is hyponatremia. All these should be due to diuresis and natriuresis, and you can treat with a saline infusion alone. Hypercalcemia. Okay, hypocalcemia, hypercalciuria can occur. Okay, then hypomagnesemia can be occurring. So, okay, ototoxicity can be there. Ototoxicity எதனால? இந்த sodium potassium 2 chloride transporter இருக்காங்கல்ல, they are very important in the inner ear. Okay, loop diuretics causes loss of hearing by toxic effect on the air cells in the internal ear. Therefore, there can be tinnitus, vertigo, all these things. Ototoxicity is more common with ethacrynic acid. Ethacrynic acid, that's most common. It's a dose dependent again. Then hyperglycemia can occur, hyperlipidemia can occur, weakness, muscle cramps, etc. can also occur. Okay, so now coming towards the what are the uses? Edema, acute renal failure, cerebral edema, acute pulmonary edema, acute left ventricular failure, forced diuresis, then hypertension and acute hypercalcemia and hyperkalemia. Okay, so with this I'm completing the first part of the diuretics. Okay, next what we will do is we will go through the antidiuretics and the remaining part of diuretics in the next session. Okay, thank you so much.